behind the golden gates of Kensington Palace, where centuries of royal tradition meet modern parenting, a quiet revolution was taking place every December. While the world watched for glimpses of designer gowns and formal ceremonies, Prince William and Catherine were crafting something far more precious than any crown jewel: childhood memories that would last forever. What started as simple Christmas morning exchanges between parents and children had evolved into something extraordinary. These weren't just gifts wrapped in expensive paper and royal ribbons. They were carefully chosen treasures that revealed the hearts of two people determined to give their children something the royal family had rarely experienced before: a completely normal, joy-filled childhood. The story begins on a cold December morning in 2013, when a young mother named Catherine held her first Christmas gift for baby Prince George. Little did anyone know that this moment would start a tradition so beautiful, so genuine, that it would quietly transform how the world viewed the British royal family forever. This is the untold story of love, laughter, and the magic that happens when two parents decide that being royal doesn't mean giving up being real. The winter of 2013 brought more than just snow to Kensington Palace. It brought the first Christmas that would forever change how Prince William and Catherine approached the holidays with their growing family. Baby Prince George, just 4 months old, lay peacefully in his ornate nursery, unaware that his parents were about to break with centuries of royal tradition. Catherine stood by the window, watching the London snow fall gently on the palace grounds. In her hands, she held a simple wooden rattle, not the golden, jewel-encrusted toys that previous royal babies had received, but something she had carefully chosen herself from a small toy shop in Norfolk. The rattle was handcrafted by a local artisan, made from sustainable wood and painted with non-toxic colors. It was beautiful in its simplicity, and it represented everything Catherine wanted for her son's childhood. William entered the nursery quietly, carrying his own gift for George. It was a soft, cream-colored teddy bear that he had owned as a child. The bear showed signs of love: slightly faded fur, a small repair on one ear where William had accidentally torn it during his own childhood adventures. This wasn't just any teddy bear, it was a piece of William's own history, a tangible connection between father and son that no amount of money could buy. The young couple had spent weeks discussing how they wanted to celebrate Christmas with their first child. Both had grown up in the royal household, where Christmas gifts often came with protocols, traditions, and expectations that dated back generations. The Queen's Christmas celebrations at Sandringham were formal affairs, steeped in tradition and observed by the entire Commonwealth. While beautiful and meaningful in their own way, William and Catherine wanted something different for their children. They had watched other royal families struggle with the balance between duty and personal happiness. They had seen how the constant public attention and formal requirements could impact children as they grew. Most importantly, they had experienced firsthand how precious and fleeting childhood could be when lived in the public eye. They were determined to create pockets of normalcy, moments of pure childhood joy that would belong entirely to their family. Catherine had always been drawn to meaningful gifts rather than expensive ones. Growing up in the Middleton household, Christmas had been about handmade presents, family traditions, and creating memories together. Her mother, Carol, had taught her that the most treasured gifts were those chosen with love and thoughtfulness, not those with the highest price tags. These values had shaped Catherine's approach to everything, from her fashion choices to her charitable work, and now they would influence how she raised her children. William, despite his royal upbringing, shared similar values. His mother, Princess Diana, had worked hard to give him and Harry experiences of normal childhood within their extraordinary circumstances. She had taken them to theme parks, fast food restaurants, and homeless shelters, teaching them that their privilege came with responsibility and that happiness couldn't be bought. These lessons had stayed with William throughout his life, and he was determined to pass them on to his own children. As Christmas morning approached, the couple made a decision that would surprise many royal watchers. Instead of hosting elaborate gift exchanges with extended family members and palace staff present, they chose to celebrate privately in their apartment at Kensington Palace. They wanted George's first Christmas to be intimate, personal, and focused entirely on family. The morning of December 25, 2013, dawned bright and clear. Catherine woke early, as new mothers often do, to feed George before the day's celebrations began. As she sat in the quiet nursery, holding her son and watching the sunrise paint the palace walls golden, she felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. This little boy would grow up with opportunities and privileges that most children could only dream of, but she was determined that he would also grow up knowing love, simplicity, and joy. William joined them as George finished his morning feed. Together, they moved to their sitting room, where a small Christmas tree stood decorated with simple ornaments. There were no mountains of presents, no overwhelming displays of wealth. Instead, there were just a few carefully chosen gifts, each one selected with love and intention. The wooden rattle was George's first gift. As Catherine gently placed it in his tiny hands, the baby's eyes widened with curiosity. He studied the smooth wood, the gentle colors, the way the light played across its surface. For a moment, he seemed completely fascinated by this simple toy, and his parents watched in wonder. This wasn't a baby being impressed by luxury or status, this was pure childhood discovery, the kind of moment they wanted to fill their children's lives with. Next came William's teddy bear. As he placed the soft toy next to George on his blanket, he began to tell his son the story of the bear. How it had been his companion through countless childhood adventures, how it had comforted him during difficult times, and how it had waited patiently in storage for the day when it could love another little prince. George reached for the bear with surprising coordination, his small fingers grasping the familiar softness that had once comforted his father. Catherine had also chosen a beautiful picture book about animals, not because it was expensive or rare, but because she remembered how much joy books had brought to her own childhood. She planned to read to George every day, to fill his world with stories and imagination. The book she chose featured simple illustrations of farm animals, and she looked forward to the day when George would point excitedly at the pictures and try to make the animal sounds. But perhaps the most meaningful gift that first Christmas wasn't something that could be wrapped or placed under a tree. William and Catherine gave George something far more precious. They gave him the gift of their full attention and presence. They spent the entire day focused on their son, taking photographs not for public release but for their own family album, creating memories that would belong entirely to them. As they sat together that evening, with George sleeping peacefully between them, William and Catherine made a pact. Every Christmas would be approached with the same thoughtfulness and intention. Their children would receive gifts chosen with love, not obligation. They would create traditions that honored their family's history while also building something new and uniquely their own. They decided that each Christmas gift would tell a story, carry meaning, or create connection. Whether it was a handmade toy from a local artisan, a book that opened up new worlds of imagination, or something passed down through generations, every present would be chosen because it had the power to bring joy, learning, or love into their children's lives. This decision would prove to be the foundation of something beautiful. Over the years that followed, as Princess Charlotte and Prince Louis joined the family, this approach to Christmas giving would create a treasure trove of meaningful memories. More importantly, it would teach the children that true happiness comes not from having the most expensive things, but from being loved, valued, and understood. The royal children would grow up knowing that every gift they received had been chosen specifically for them, with their unique personalities and interests in mind. They would learn that the most precious presents are often the simplest ones, and that love and thoughtfulness matter more than price tags or prestige. That first Christmas in 2013 set the tone for everything that would follow. It was the beginning of a new royal tradition, one built on authenticity, love, and the revolutionary idea that royal children deserve to experience the same simple joys that children everywhere should have. William and Catherine had given George more than gifts that Christmas morning. They had given him the promise of a childhood filled with genuine love and happiness. By Christmas 2015, the Cambridge household had transformed dramatically. 2-year-old Prince George was now a curious toddler with boundless energy and an infectious laugh that could light up any room. More importantly, for Christmas morning, the family had grown by one precious addition. Baby Princess Charlotte, who had arrived in May and would be experiencing her first Christmas at just 7 months old. Catherine stood in the nursery she had lovingly prepared for Charlotte, holding a soft pink blanket that she had spent months knitting herself during quiet evening hours. The blanket wasn't just beautiful, it was a labor of love, created stitch by stitch during those peaceful moments when she could focus entirely on the daughter growing inside her. Each row represented hours of anticipation, dreams for the future, and hopes for the kind of mother she wanted to be. The decision to knit Charlotte's Christmas gift herself had come naturally to Catherine. Despite having access to the finest baby items money could buy, she wanted her daughter's first Christmas present to carry something no expensive gift could provide: the physical manifestation of a mother's love. Every evening for months, Catherine had worked on the blanket, choosing the softest yarn in a delicate shade of pink that reminded her of spring flowers. The pattern she selected was intricate but not showy, beautiful but practical, much like Catherine herself. William had been equally thoughtful in choosing Charlotte's gift. Remembering how meaningful it had been to pass his childhood teddy bear to George, he had carefully selected something special from his own childhood collection. This time, it was a small silver music box that had belonged to his mother, Princess Diana. The music box played Brahms' Lullaby, and, inside, a tiny ballerina spun gracefully when the lid was opened. Diana had kept this music box on her dressing table, and William remembered being fascinated by it as a small child, watching the ballerina dance while the gentle melody played. The music box represented more than just a gift, it was a bridge between generations, a way for Charlotte to carry a piece of her grandmother's memory with her throughout her life. William knew that Diana would have adored her granddaughter, and giving Charlotte something that had brought Diana joy felt like the most natural way to honor that connection. Meanwhile, George's Christmas gifts reflected his growing personality and interests. At 2 years old, he was obsessed with vehicles of all kinds: cars, trucks, airplanes, and, especially, helicopters. His fascination with helicopters wasn't surprising, given his father's career as an air ambulance pilot, and William had noticed how George's eyes would light up whenever they heard a helicopter overhead. Instead of buying an expensive toy helicopter from an exclusive retailer, Catherine had discovered a small, family-owned toy company in Wales that specialized in handcrafted wooden toys. The helicopter they created for George was a work of art, beautifully carved from sustainable wood, painted in bright, non-toxic colors, and designed to withstand the enthusiastic play of an active toddler. Best of all, the company allowed Catherine to have George's name carved into the side of the helicopter, making it uniquely his. But George's most treasured gift that Christmas wasn't something his parents bought for him at all. William had spent weeks working in secret in the palace workshops, learning basic carpentry skills from the estate's maintenance staff. With their patient guidance, he had built George a simple but sturdy toy garage. The garage was unpainted wood, deliberately left natural so that George could help decorate it himself as he grew older. It had several levels, ramps for cars to drive up and down, and even a small working elevator that could lift toy vehicles from floor to floor. The joy on George's face when he saw the garage on Christmas morning was worth every splinter William had endured during its construction. But, more importantly, the garage became a focal point for father-son bonding time. William and George would spend hours together, driving toy cars through the garage, creating elaborate scenarios and stories. These play sessions weren't just fun, they were precious opportunities for connection that no amount of money could purchase. Catherine had also introduced a new tradition: that second Christmas, a special Christmas Eve box for each child. The boxes themselves were beautiful wooden containers that could be treasured long after childhood, but their contents were simple and meaningful. Each box contained new Christmas pajamas, a book to read before bed on Christmas Eve, and a small treat like hot chocolate or cookies. The tradition created anticipation and excitement while maintaining the family's commitment to meaningful rather than excessive gift-giving. The Christmas Eve boxes served another important purpose: they helped establish the family's own unique traditions, separate from the formal protocols of royal Christmas celebrations at Sandringham. While William and Catherine respected and participated in the traditional royal Christmas events, they were determined to create special moments that belonged entirely to their immediate family. This balance between royal duty and personal family time became a hallmark of how William and Catherine approached all aspects of their lives. They understood their responsibilities to the monarchy and the British people, but they also fiercely protected their children's right to experience normal family moments. Christmas morning in their private apartment at Kensington Palace became sacred family time, a few hours when they could simply be parents and children rather than royals and future heirs. The extended royal family had initially been puzzled by William and Catherine's approach to Christmas gifts. The royal tradition had always favored expensive, formal presents that reflected the family's status and wealth. Previous royal children had received things like diamond-encrusted jewelry, rare art pieces, or custom-made items from the world's most exclusive craftsmen. While these gifts were undeniably beautiful and valuable, William and Catherine worried that such excess might prevent their children from appreciating simpler pleasures and developing empathy for those less fortunate. Their concerns proved well-founded as they watched George's genuine delight with his handmade toys. He played with his wooden helicopter and garage far more enthusiastically than he ever had with the elaborate electronic toys well-meaning relatives had given him. The simple, tactile toys sparked his imagination in ways that battery-powered gadgets never could. He created his own sound effects, invented complex storylines, and used the toys as tools for creative play rather than passive entertainment. Charlotte, despite being only 7 months old, also showed clear preferences for her meaningful gifts. The handmade blanket became her favorite comfort item, providing security and warmth during naps and bedtime. The music box fascinated her developing senses. She would watch the spinning ballerina with wide eyes and calm instantly when she heard the gentle lullaby. These responses weren't just coincidental, they were evidence of the special connection that exists between children and items created with love and intention. As Christmas Day progressed, William and Catherine took countless photographs of their children enjoying their gifts. These weren't formal portraits destined for official royal Christmas cards, but candid family snapshots that captured genuine moments of joy and discovery. The photos showed George carefully maneuvering toy cars through his garage, Charlotte reaching for her spinning ballerina, and both children surrounded by parents who were completely present and engaged. The success of this second Christmas with meaningful gifts reinforced William and Catherine's commitment to their approach. They saw how their children responded to love and attention rather than material excess, and they recognized that they were laying the foundation for values that would serve their children well throughout their lives. By the end of Christmas Day 2015, William and Catherine knew they had found something special. Their approach to gift-giving wasn't just creating happy memories, it was teaching their children important lessons about love, creativity, and appreciation. Most importantly, it was proving that being royal didn't mean sacrificing authenticity or genuine family connection. The tradition they had started with George's first Christmas was evolving into something even more beautiful, and they looked forward to continuing this journey as their family grew and their children developed their own unique personalities and interests. Each Christmas would bring new opportunities to show their children that the most precious gifts in life aren't the most expensive ones, they're the ones given with love. Christmas 2018 brought a new energy to the Cambridge household that no one could have predicted. Prince George, now 5 years old, had developed into a confident and curious child with strong opinions about everything from his breakfast cereal to his favorite books. 3-year-old Princess Charlotte had revealed herself to be fearless, independent, and surprisingly diplomatic, often serving as a bridge between her older brother and baby Prince Louis, who had joined the family in April and would be celebrating his first Christmas at 8 months old. The dynamic between the three children had created something magical in the household. George had embraced his role as big brother with surprising maturity, often helping Catherine care for Louis and patiently teaching Charlotte games and songs. Charlotte, despite being the middle child, had claimed her own special place in the family hierarchy through her natural leadership abilities and infectious charm. And Louis, though still a baby, had already shown signs of the same joyful personality that seemed to run in the family. William and Catherine faced a new challenge that Christmas: how to create meaningful gifts for three very different children while maintaining their commitment to thoughtfulness over extravagance. The solution came through careful observation of each child's unique interests and personality traits, and some creative collaboration that would surprise everyone. For George, who had recently started school and was developing a love for learning about the natural world, Catherine had arranged for something truly special. She had contacted a local beekeeper in Norfolk who specialized in educational programs for children. Together, they had created a complete beginner's beekeeping kit designed specifically for a 5-year-old's learning level. The kit included a child-sized bee suit, a wooden hive observation box with safe viewing panels, books about bees and honey production, and, most importantly, the promise of regular visits with the beekeeper to learn about these fascinating creatures. The idea had come to Catherine during a family walk on the Sandringham estate, where George had become absolutely mesmerized watching bees work among the wildflowers. His questions had been endless and sophisticated. He wanted to know how bees communicated, why they were important to the environment, and whether he could help protect them. Catherine realized that his curiosity represented an opportunity to teach him about responsibility, environmental stewardship, and the interconnectedness of all living things. William had initially been concerned about the safety aspects of beekeeping for such a young child, but the educational specialist Catherine found had extensive experience working with children. They developed a program that prioritized safety while still giving George hands-on learning experiences. The observation hive would be set up in a secure area of the Kensington Palace Gardens, and George would only work with the bees while wearing proper protection and under expert supervision. For Charlotte, who had shown remarkable artistic talent for her age and loved creating beautiful things, Catherine had arranged for something equally special but entirely different. She had commissioned a local artist to create a custom art studio setup sized perfectly for a 3-year-old. The studio included a small easel that could be adjusted as Charlotte grew, high-quality but child-safe art supplies, and, most importantly, a series of art lessons with a patient teacher who specialized in nurturing creativity in young children. The art studio wasn't just about teaching technique, it was about giving Charlotte a space where she could express herself freely and develop confidence in her own creative abilities. Catherine had noticed that Charlotte was often most content when she was creating something, whether it was drawings, paintings, or elaborate sculptures made from building blocks. The art studio would give her the tools and space to explore these interests more deeply. But Charlotte's most treasured gift at Christmas came from an unexpected source, Prince George himself. With Catherine's help, 5-year-old George had spent weeks creating a special book for his sister. The book told the story of a brave princess who went on adventures with her loyal brother, and each page featured George's own illustrations alongside simple text that Catherine had helped him compose. The story was clearly inspired by George and Charlotte's own relationship, filled with inside jokes and references to their shared adventures around the palace. Creating the book had been as meaningful for George as receiving it was for Charlotte. The project had taught him about planning, persistence, and the joy of creating something special for someone he loved. When Charlotte opened the handmade book on Christmas morning and recognized herself and George in the story, her reaction was pure magic. She immediately insisted that George read it to her, and it quickly became her favorite bedtime story. For baby Louis, William and Catherine faced the challenge of choosing meaningful gifts for someone too young to express preferences. They decided to focus on items that would support his development while creating connections to family history and traditions. Catherine had commissioned a local craftsperson to create a beautiful wooden mobile featuring hand-carved animals that were native to the British Isles. Each animal was painted in soft, natural colors and designed to move gently in air currents, providing visual stimulation that would support Louis's developing eyesight and coordination. William's gift for Louis was perhaps the most sentimental of all. He had asked the palace archivists to help him locate a christening gown that had been worn by multiple generations of royal babies, including William himself and his father, Prince Charles. The gown had been carefully preserved and was still in beautiful condition, but William wanted to give Louis something even more personal to wear during his first Christmas photos. Working with a master seamstress, William had created a modern version of the traditional christening gown using fabric from his own wedding waistcoat. The new gown maintained the elegance and significance of royal tradition while incorporating a direct connection to William's own wedding day. When Louis wore the gown for his first Christmas photos, he would be wrapped in fabric that had been present during one of his parents' most important moments. The Christmas morning routine had evolved over the years to accommodate 3 children with different attention spans and interests. Catherine had learned to prepare everything the night before, setting up separate areas for each child so that the morning could flow smoothly without overwhelming anyone. George's beekeeping equipment was arranged in the sitting room where he could explore it safely. Charlotte's art supplies were set up in the conservatory with plenty of natural light, and Louis's gifts were placed where he could reach them during tummy time on his favorite blanket. As the family gathered on Christmas morning, the atmosphere was filled with excitement but also with the kind of comfortable intimacy that had become their hallmark. William and Catherine sat on the floor with their children, fully present and engaged as each gift was discovered and explored. There were no servants hovering nearby, no photographers capturing every moment for public consumption, and no schedule to maintain beyond their own family's natural rhythm. George's reaction to the beekeeping kit exceeded even Catherine's optimistic expectations. He immediately put on the child-sized bee suit and began asking questions about when he could meet the bees and what he would need to learn to take care of them. His enthusiasm was infectious, and even Charlotte wanted to learn about bees so she could help her brother with his new project. Charlotte's response to her art studio was equally wonderful, but in a completely different way. She approached her new supplies with the kind of reverent care that artists of any age would recognize. She touched each brush gently, examined the colors carefully, and asked thoughtful questions about how to use everything properly. When she created her first painting in her new studio later that day, she worked with intense concentration and obvious joy. Louis, despite being too young to understand the significance of his gifts, clearly responded to the love and attention surrounding him. He reached for the spinning animals on his mobile with determination and seemed to enjoy being dressed in his special Christmas gown for family photos. Most importantly, he was the center of attention from his siblings, who were eager to include him in their Christmas activities in age-appropriate ways. Perhaps the most significant gift exchange that Christmas happened almost by accident. As the family was cleaning up wrapping paper and settling in for a quiet afternoon together, Charlotte announced that she wanted to make Christmas gifts for her family too. With Catherine's help, she spent the rest of the day creating simple drawings for each family member: a picture of a bee for George, a drawing of the family for Mama and Papa, and a colorful scribble for baby Louis that she declared was all the love in the world. These impromptu gifts from Charlotte represented something beautiful that William and Catherine hadn't fully anticipated when they started their tradition of meaningful Christmas presents. By modeling thoughtfulness and creativity in their own gift-giving, they had inspired their daughter to want to give meaningful gifts to others. The lesson had been absorbed naturally and expressed authentically, proving that children learn more from what they observe than from what they're told. As Christmas Day 2018 drew to a close, William and Catherine reflected on how much their family's approach to Christmas had evolved and deepened over the years. What had started as a simple desire to give their children normal, happy Christmases had grown into something much richer: a family culture built on creativity, thoughtfulness, and genuine connection. Their children were learning that the best gifts aren't necessarily the most expensive ones, but rather the ones that show understanding, support interests, and express love in tangible ways. Christmas 2020 would forever be remembered as the year that tested every family tradition around the world, and the Cambridge household was no exception. The global pandemic had changed everything about how families could gather, celebrate, and create memories together. For William and Catherine, this unusual Christmas presented both challenges and unexpected opportunities to deepen their family's commitment to meaningful gift-giving and authentic connection. 7-year-old Prince George had grown into a thoughtful boy who asked complex questions about the world around him. 5-year-old Princess Charlotte had developed into an artist and diplomat whose creativity was matched only by her ability to bring people together. 2-year-old Prince Louis had emerged as the family entertainer, full of energy and mischief that kept everyone laughing. The pandemic had meant more time together as a family than ever before, and William and Catherine had watched their children's personalities flourish in the safety and comfort of their extended time at home. The restrictions that year meant Christmas would be celebrated quietly at their Norfolk home, Anmer Hall, without the usual extended family gatherings or formal royal obligations. While this initially seemed like a disappointment, William and Catherine soon realized it was actually a precious gift: the opportunity to focus entirely on their immediate family and create the most intimate Christmas celebration they had ever experienced. Catherine had spent months planning how to make this Christmas special despite the limitations. She had observed each child carefully during the long months at home, noting their developing interests, their emotional needs, and the ways the unusual year had affected them. Her gift choices reflected this deep understanding and her commitment to supporting each child's individual journey. For George, who had become fascinated with cooking during lockdown and loved helping in the kitchen, Catherine arranged for something extraordinary. She had contacted a renowned chef who specialized in teaching children culinary skills and arranged for a series of virtual cooking lessons that would extend far beyond Christmas morning. But the immediate gift was even more special: a complete junior chef setup with real cooking tools scaled for a 7-year-old's use, including a proper knife set designed for children, high-quality measuring tools, and a collection of cookbooks written specifically for young chefs. The cooking kit represented more than just a new hobby for George. Catherine had noticed that he found cooking both calming and empowering during the uncertain months of 2020. When he was chopping vegetables or mixing batter, he seemed completely focused and genuinely happy. The gift acknowledged this passion while also teaching him practical life skills and building his confidence in the kitchen. Most importantly, it created opportunities for George to contribute meaningfully to family meals and special occasions. William had chosen to complement Catherine's gift with something that honored George's growing interest in responsibility and leadership. Working with estate managers, William had arranged for George to have his own small garden plot on the grounds of Anmer Hall. The Christmas gift included all the tools and seeds needed to create a kitchen garden that would provide ingredients for George's cooking adventures. Child-sized gardening tools, raised beds built to the perfect height, and a selection of easy-to-grow vegetables and herbs would allow George to experience the complete cycle from planting to cooking to sharing meals with family. The garden project represented something profound that had emerged during the pandemic year, the recognition that children needed to feel useful and capable during uncertain times. By giving George real responsibilities in the garden and kitchen, William and Catherine were helping him develop resilience and self-confidence while also contributing to the family's well-being. For Charlotte, who had thrown herself into art and design during lockdown, Catherine had arranged for an extraordinary collaboration. She had contacted several working artists and craftspeople who specialized in different mediums: pottery, textile design, painting, and sculpture, and arranged for Charlotte to have virtual mentorship sessions with each one. The Christmas gift included professional quality art supplies for each medium, along with the promise of regular online sessions where Charlotte could learn new techniques and explore different forms of artistic expression. But Charlotte's most meaningful gift that Christmas came from her own initiative, supported by her parents' encouragement. During the long months at home, Charlotte had noticed that many of the estate workers and local families were struggling with the economic impacts of the pandemic. With Catherine's help, she had spent weeks creating hand-painted Christmas cards and small artwork pieces that could be given as gifts to families in their community. On Christmas morning, Charlotte received not just art supplies but also a beautifully bound portfolio containing photographs of all the families who had received her artwork, along with their thank you notes and messages. This gift exchange taught Charlotte something invaluable about the joy of giving and the impact that creativity can have on others' lives. The thank you messages from community members weren't just polite acknowledgments, they were genuine expressions of gratitude for Charlotte's thoughtfulness during a difficult year. Many of the messages came from families who had been struggling financially and emotionally, and Charlotte's handmade gifts had brought unexpected joy to their holidays. For 2-year-old Louis, who had boundless energy and loved physical challenges, William and Catherine had created an indoor adventure playground in one of the larger rooms at Anmer Hall. The setup included age-appropriate climbing structures, balance beams, tunnels to crawl through, and soft play equipment that would allow Louis to burn energy safely during the winter months when outdoor play was limited. The indoor playground wasn't just about physical activity, it was about recognizing Louis's need for adventure and challenge while keeping him safe and engaged. During the pandemic, when normal playground visits and playdates weren't possible, Louis had sometimes struggled with feeling confined and restless. The indoor adventure space gave him an outlet for his natural energy while also supporting his physical development and coordination skills. But perhaps the most significant aspect of Louis's Christmas gift was how it brought the whole family together. George and Charlotte quickly discovered that the playground was just as much fun for them as it was for their little brother. The space became a focal point for family playtime, with William and Catherine joining their children for games, challenges, and imaginative adventures. The playground represented something that had become increasingly important to the family: the value of unstructured playtime and physical activity as a foundation for both individual well-being and family bonding. Christmas morning 2020 unfolded differently from previous years, but the differences only highlighted the strength of the traditions William and Catherine had established. Without the usual rush to prepare for extended family gatherings, the morning felt more relaxed and spontaneous. The children had time to fully explore each gift, to ask questions, and to immediately begin incorporating their new interests into play and learning. George spent hours in the kitchen that Christmas Day, preparing a simple lunch for the family using ingredients from the existing garden and his new cooking tools. His concentration and pride in his work were evident as he carefully measured ingredients and followed recipe instructions. The meal he prepared wasn't elaborate, but it was created with love and genuine effort, making it far more special than any catered feast could have been. Charlotte set up her new art supplies in the morning room, where natural light would be perfect for her creative work. She spent much of the day experimenting with different mediums and techniques, occasionally calling her parents over to see what she had discovered. Her joy in creating was infectious, and even Louis wanted to try painting, leading to a spontaneous family art session that resulted in a collaborative masterpiece that would be framed and treasured for years. Louis embraced his adventure playground with typical enthusiasm, but what made the day special was how his siblings joined him in his play. George invented obstacle courses and challenges, Charlotte created imaginative storylines that transformed the equipment into castles and mountains, and all three children spent hours playing together in ways that combined physical activity with creativity and cooperation. The success of Christmas 2020 proved something important to William and Catherine about their approach to family life and gift-giving. The meaningful traditions they had established weren't dependent on external circumstances or elaborate settings. The thoughtfulness, creativity, and love that characterized their Christmas celebrations could flourish under any conditions, even during a global pandemic that had disrupted nearly every aspect of normal life. As they put their children to bed that Christmas night, William and Catherine reflected on how much their family had grown and strengthened during this challenging year. The isolation that many families had found difficult had actually allowed them to discover new depths to their relationships with each child. By being forced to slow down and spend more time together, they had gained insights into their children's personalities, interests, and needs that might have been missed during busier times. The gifts they had chosen that Christmas weren't just about supporting hobbies or interests, they were about acknowledging each child as a unique individual with their own strengths, challenges, and potential. George's cooking and gardening gifts recognized his desire to contribute and create. Charlotte's art supplies and community project honored her creativity and natural empathy. Louis's playground celebrated his energy and need for physical challenge while bringing the family together through play. Most importantly, Christmas 2020 had demonstrated that the most meaningful gifts are often the ones that create opportunities for continued learning, growth, and connection. The cooking lessons, art mentorships, and family playtime would continue long after Christmas morning, providing ongoing opportunities for development and bonding that would strengthen throughout the coming year. Christmas 2023 marked a decade of meaningful gift-giving for the Cambridge family, now the Wales family following William's new title as Prince of Wales. The transformation in the household over these 10 years had been remarkable, not just in terms of the children's growth and development, but in the depth of family traditions and the strength of the bonds that connected them all. 10-year-old Prince George had evolved into a confident young man with diverse interests that reflected the foundation of curiosity and learning his parents had nurtured from his earliest years. His love of cooking had developed into genuine skill in the kitchen, and his garden had become a source of pride and practical knowledge about sustainable living and environmental responsibility. But, perhaps most significantly, George had inherited his parents' values about thoughtful gift-giving and had begun creating his own meaningful presents for family members. 8-year-old Princess Charlotte had become a remarkable young artist whose creativity extended far beyond visual arts. Her early exposure to different artistic mediums had helped her develop not just technical skills but also confidence in expressing herself and empathy for others. The community art project that had begun during the pandemic had evolved into ongoing charitable work that Charlotte pursued with genuine passion and increasing sophistication. 5-year-old Prince Louis had grown into the family comedian and adventurer, full of energy and mischief that kept everyone entertained. His early love of physical challenges had developed into genuine athletic ability and a love of outdoor activities that had drawn the entire family into more active pursuits. But, beneath his playful exterior, Louis was also developing into a thoughtful and observant child who often surprised his family with his insights and emotional intelligence. The approach to Christmas gift-giving that William and Catherine had pioneered had evolved over the years, becoming more sophisticated and personalized as the children grew older and their interests became more defined. But, the core principles remained the same: thoughtfulness over expense, creativity over convention, and experiences over possessions. For George's 10th Christmas, Catherine had arranged for something that combined several of his interests while introducing him to new challenges. She had connected him with a master chocolatier who specialized in traditional British confectionery, arranging for George to spend several days during the school holidays learning the art of chocolate making from scratch. The Christmas gift included professional chocolate-making equipment scaled for his age and skill level, along with high-quality ingredients and detailed instruction books. But the chocolate-making lessons represented more than just a new skill. Catherine had chosen this gift because she had observed George's growing interest in understanding how things were made and his desire to create gifts for others. Learning to make chocolate would allow him to combine his love of cooking with his natural generosity, creating presents for family members and friends that would carry special meaning because they were made by his own hands. William's gift for George acknowledged his son's growing maturity and sense of responsibility. He had arranged for George to have his own beehives on the Windsor estate, expanding the beekeeping interest that had begun years earlier into a serious hobby that would teach advanced lessons about environmental stewardship and sustainability. The gift included not just the equipment and expert guidance needed to manage real beehives, but also the opportunity to donate honey to local food banks and charities, connecting George's interests to meaningful community service. For Charlotte, whose artistic abilities had continued to flourish, Catherine had arranged for something extraordinary that recognized her daughter's growing sophistication and social awareness. She had connected Charlotte with a textile artist who worked with disadvantaged communities around the world, creating beautiful handicrafts that provided economic opportunities for their makers. Charlotte's Christmas gift included the opportunity to design her own textile collection in collaboration with artisans in different countries, learning about global cultures while creating beautiful objects that would support economic development. The textile project represented something profound about how Charlotte's interests and values had developed over the years. Her love of creating beautiful things had evolved to include concern for social justice and global equality. By connecting her artistic interests with meaningful social impact, Catherine was supporting her daughter's natural empathy while also exposing her to the complexities and challenges of the wider world. William's gift for Charlotte focused on her growing leadership abilities and her talent for bringing people together. He had arranged for Charlotte to organize and host a special art exhibition featuring work by young artists from around the Commonwealth, with proceeds supporting arts education programs for disadvantaged children. The Christmas gift included everything Charlotte would need to curate and present a professional quality exhibition, along with mentorship from museum professionals who would guide her through the process. For Louis, who had become fascinated with animals and wildlife during family visits to conservation projects, Catherine had arranged for an immersive experience that would combine education with adventure. She had connected him with wildlife conservation experts who would take him on age-appropriate expeditions to observe and learn about British wildlife and their natural habitats. The Christmas gift included child-sized field equipment, detailed nature journals, and the promise of regular outdoor adventures that would deepen his understanding of the natural world. But Louis's most special gift that Christmas came from an unexpected collaboration between his siblings and parents. George and Charlotte had spent weeks working together to create an elaborate outdoor adventure course in the grounds of their Norfolk home, complete with rope bridges, climbing walls, and obstacle challenges that would test Louis's physical abilities while providing safe outlets for his boundless energy. The project had required careful planning, problem-solving, and cooperation between the older siblings, teaching them valuable lessons about teamwork and project management while creating something wonderful for their little brother. Christmas morning 2023 unfolded with the comfortable rhythm that the family had established over years of meaningful celebration. But there were new elements that reflected how much the children had grown and how their understanding of gift-giving had deepened. For the first time, the children had taken the initiative to create significant gifts for their parents, working together on projects that demonstrated both their individual talents and their collaborative abilities. George had used his cooking skills and Charlotte's artistic talents to create a beautifully illustrated cookbook featuring all the family's favorite recipes, complete with stories about when and why each dish was special to them. The cookbook represented hundreds of hours of work, with George testing and refining recipes while Charlotte created detailed illustrations and decorative elements for each page. The finished book was a professional quality publication that captured not just recipes but family memories and traditions. Charlotte had organized her brothers to help create a stunning family portrait gallery featuring artwork in different styles and mediums. Each family member was depicted in multiple artistic interpretations, from formal portraits to whimsical cartoon versions to abstract representations. The gallery demonstrated Charlotte's growing artistic sophistication while also showcasing Louis's surprising talent for sculpture and George's eye for composition and design. Louis, despite being the youngest, had contributed something uniquely precious to the family's Christmas celebration. With help from his siblings and careful guidance from Catherine, he had created a family time capsule filled with objects, letters, and photographs that captured their life together in 2023. Each family member had contributed items and written letters to their future selves, and Lewis had decorated the container with his own artwork and sealed it with great ceremony. The success of the children's gift-giving efforts represented the culmination of everything William and Catherine had hoped to achieve through their approach to Christmas celebrations. Their children had internalized the values of thoughtfulness, creativity, and love that had characterized their own gift-giving from the beginning. More importantly, they had learned to find joy in creating happiness for others and to express their love through meaningful actions rather than expensive purchases. As the family spent Christmas Day 2023 together, exploring new interests, sharing creative projects, and simply enjoying each other's company, William and Catherine reflected on the journey they had taken together over the past decade. What had begun as a simple desire to give their children normal, happy Christmases had evolved into something much richer and more significant. Their approach to gift-giving had taught their children that love is expressed through attention, understanding, and thoughtfulness rather than through material excess. They had learned to appreciate craftsmanship, creativity, and authenticity over mass production and brand names. Most importantly, they had developed into generous, empathetic individuals who found joy in giving to others and who understood their own privileges as opportunities to make positive differences in the world. The tradition that William and Catherine had created wasn't just about Christmas morning or even about gifts themselves. It was about building a family culture that valued relationships over possessions, experiences over things, and love over luxury. It was about raising children who would carry these values into their adult lives and pass them on to future generations. As they looked toward future Christmases, William and Catherine knew that the traditions they had established would continue to evolve as their children grew and developed their own families. But the core principles that had guided them from George's first Christmas would remain constant: the belief that the most meaningful gifts are those given with love, chosen with thought, and designed to support the unique growth and happiness of the people we care about most. The royal children who had grown up receiving wooden toys, handmade blankets, and opportunities for learning and service had become young people who understood that true wealth lies not in what you own but in what you give, not in what you receive but in what you create, and not in how much you have but in how much love you share. This was perhaps the greatest gift that William and Catherine had given their children, the knowledge that a life well lived is measured not by material accumulation but by meaningful contribution to the happiness and well-being of others. The legacy of these Christmas celebrations would extend far beyond the Wales family household. As the children grew into adult roles within the royal family and took on their own public responsibilities, they would carry with them the values and perspectives that had been nurtured through years of thoughtful gift-giving and authentic family connection. Their future charitable work, their approach to royal duties, and their own parenting would all be influenced by the lessons learned during these precious Christmas mornings when love was measured not in pounds sterling but in presence, attention, and genuine care for each other's hopes and dreams.